Okay, so what is good, everyone? Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about what I think you should, if you have a standard loot council and you are trying to be one of the best warlocks out there. It's no secret that you're going to need fucking gear. You're going to need some of the items that increase your power level so high that the loot council is actually going to start looking at you and be like, okay, it would be dumb not to give him the next item. So with that framework, my idea when I'm thinking of what I should prioritize to myself and what is contested with a ton of other people, I'm factoring those things in, and I'm also factoring in what items are going to give me the best power level. And when it comes to your power level, it's not like you're going into Nax with, you know, you're not naked when you go into Nax. You're going into Nax with a bunch of items. So the framework is we're trying to get gear. We're trying to do the most damage at every single phase. And simultaneously, we're going to start out with pre-raid BIS. So I'm going to assume that you have pre-raid BIS. This is what I would use. The caveat to this would be that, you know, after 3 weeks, you would have the Halloween caster ring, the Halloween event caster ring. Maybe you would have some Nax 10 gear. But I'm really shooting for that week one, what you should have at a Sunwell and, you know, all your gears enchanted, all that crap, right? So let's get started. So this is pre-raid BIS. I'll just scroll through it really quickly just so you can see everything. This is a little different from my video that I posted specifically, or I think it is. But it's specifically because I assume that we're going to get Titan Steel Spellblade, but that is actually not going to be until tier 9, supposedly. If you get that, then you would obviously use it in place of this and then just gem a little less hit rating. Same if you don't have the Sunwell gear, you just, you just gem a little more hit rating and whatnot. But anyway, this is pre-raid BIS. And then this is what you're trying to get to. You're trying to get to that tier 7 BIS. And some of these items are heavily contested, and they also have a very low drop rate. Certain items also, I'm assuming that you're going to be split running. So I don't expect you to be speed running in Obsidian Sanctum. I don't expect you to be speed running in fucking Malygos. Okay, that's just, if your raid is doing that, they're making a big mistake, because there's so many items in those raids, and it's easy as hell. But anyway, that's just kind of my thinking behind everything. But yeah, let's get started. Okay, so now I'm just going to read off and give my thoughts on how I prepared this list. So first things first is going to be your Turning Tide. Reason being, it's basically perfectly statted. Another reason is that it is heavily contested. You're not just competing with caster DPS. You're also competing with your Holy Paladins. You will probably have 2 Holy Paladins. It's a very good weapon for Holy Paladins. And is there another caster that has, or another healer? I don't think so. But point being is you're probably going to be running a pretty heavy caster comp in Nax and in ulduar, specifically because you're going into ulduar. You're going to be wanting to gear up all your casters and whatnot. So with that being the framework, the Turning Tide specifically has a really low drop rate. It's also going to give you your biggest DPS increase out of all of your other items. That's just how weapons work. That's how World of Warcraft works. And as I noted up there, in ulduar, you only really have ulduar 10 hard modes to replace your weapon, which now you don't have a loot council. Now you're just going off of pure RNG when you're going into 10-mans. And it has to be a 10-man group that's good enough to be pushing these hard modes. They're not that hard, but if you go in there with 6 Fury Warriors and expect to get, you know, the Ice Core staff off of Hodir, you might have a little trouble, because Fury Warriors fucking suck. So you're going to be competing against other people in these 10-mans, and it's going to be a separate loot count. And you may not even do 10-mans. A lot of the times I try and skip 10-mans because they're so damn annoying. So Turning Tide, I have to put it at number 1. It's very close as far as upgrade compared to Dying Curse, but it's just so heavily contested, and you're probably going to use it for a while. And again, you're either going to replace it with 10-man stuff, or you're going to replace it with algalon 25. So, kind of have to take it first. Second item is going to be your Dying Curse, though, because the way that I like to gear, and the way that you should be gearing to maintain a good DPS all the way through your gearing path, is by getting these items that have a good types of stat. So you need the hit rating from Dying Curse. You need to be taking off. If you look back at my pre-raid, you're going to notice that I'm gymming a shit ton of hit rating. That's not ideal. Not only that, but Dying Curse has a giant proc on it. You will, at the very least, you will have Dying Curse into tier 9, depending on how you gear up in tier 9. I'm not entirely sure in Ulduar Abyss if you're still going to be using Dying Curse. I think that in that case you'd probably be using Flare Alu, but Dying Curse is a solid choice. You're going to be using it a long time, and I'd definitely get that second. Third thing is going to be your Malygos Neck. So again, this is a very heavily contested item that it's everyone's BIS, and it's really well statted. It's got hit and haste rating on it. I can actually scroll over it here. But these are like perfect Affliction stats that you're going to want to have. And you're not going to replace it until Flame Leviathan hard mode in Ulduar, which is the first boss. It's pretty easy, but even still, I would definitely just go ahead and pick up this Maly Neck. The next item is going to be your Malygos Legs. It's just so much hit rating that you really want to pick this up quickly. And again, it is contested with just about every caster. Even, I think Boomkins take it. I think, I could be wrong. I don't think Ellie takes it, actually. But just about every caster, this is they run their 4-piece, and then they run Malygos Legs. They're still good in Ulduar, especially like in Ulduar you're going to be using tier legs, but you may not get tier legs that first week or that second week or whatever. So I would definitely keep these. They're a solid choice. They have great stats. Next item is going to be your Pennant Cloak, which is right here. So Pennant Cloak is also very heavily contested. It's probably one of the most contested items, but the only reason I don't put it all the way up there is just because it's a cloak. At the end of the day, you have Death Chill Cloak beforehand, and it's not worth wasting your I wouldn't waste my priority on something like Pennant Cloak. It's good. It's going to last you a while. You don't replace it till algalon, but it's just not that amazing compared to Death Chill. So it's not nearly as much of an upgrade as something like Turning Tide. So I can't put it all the way up there. Next item is going to be Unsullied Cuffs. So these bracers are actually really damn good. The item that you're going to have before this is, I think it's off of Grand Widow and Nax. Pretty much the same stats, but the thing about Unsullied is that you're also going to be split running Obsidian Sanctum. So I would imagine you're going to get a little bit more drops from this. And yes, when I say that you're split running, you are split running quote unquote hard mode Obsidian Sanctum. It's not hard at all. You may not be able to do the Zerg tactic or whatever, but you know, you're going to want to just get in there specifically because you know, there's only so many lockouts, and I imagine that they're going to make Nax they're probably just going to do like 2 or 3 months of Nax, and you're going to want to make sure you're at least BIS. Then the next item is actually Alu. You might think that you would want Alu a little bit higher, but it is actually a relatively small upgrade compared to Sundial. So if you look at what I wrote there, Sundial is, I would say it's around 150 spell power if you look at just, so it's like 80 crit, and then it's a 590 spell power proc. Proc trinkets, like I say, they are always better than just raw stats like Alu is. And even if you're not able to pre-stack Alu, that's even worse, because you got to think on the pull, you're not pre-stacking it. You're essentially down an entire trinket. You know, you have to cast 10 things before you even get 200 spell power, whereas Sundial just gave you 590 during that entire lust, during that entire time that you were putting up dots and whatnot. And then it's going to proc again pretty quickly. So, you know, it may even outweigh really quick fights. Obviously, on a longer sustained fight, like in Ulduar or something like that, Alu is going to outshine it. Maybe even substantially, depending on like when the fight dies. Like, let's say that you kill a fight right before that 4th Sundial proc or whatever, and then, you know, your Sundial essentially lost a ton of value at that point. But yeah, I can't put Alu above a bunch of these things. Even if you go into Ulduar and you don't have Alu, it's not the end of the world. It's not, like, if you go into Ulduar and you don't have Dying Curse, you're in trouble. If you don't have Turning Tide, you're in trouble. But if you don't have Alu, not a big deal. So maybe you can get a little competitive loot advantage there, because everyone else is going to be sidetracked by the allure of Alu. But yeah, I put it pretty low. And even if you don't have it, going in Ulduar, not a big deal. Again, you're also split running where this drops from. This drops from Obsidian Sanctum. So next item is going to be your wand. Your Bis wand is going to be off of Anub25 out of Nax. And this wand is so good. It's so perfectly statted for Affliction. And I actually keep it for a long time. You know, usually... so your next item is going to be your Freya wand off in Ulduar 10, and I actually keep this for a long time just because the stats are so damn good. The haste is so good. But yeah, the caveat is that your Utgard Keep heroic wand, let me tab to it, it's the same stats. Like this Utgard Keep heroic wand is so good too. So it's not a substantial upgrade enough to where I would put it near the top, and it is just a wand. It just doesn't have the stat value that something like a weapon would have, or a trinket. So I put it pretty high up there, but at the same time, it is just a wand at the end of the day. Yeah, moving on to number 9. So this is the KT ring. So KT ring, what you would replace with this, or what you would replace this with, is your ring out of heroic, either Culling of Stratholme or Utgard Keep. Both of those rings are just really well statted. And again, this is where it's just a ring slot, and it's not even, if you look at the ring, it's actually crit heavy, which is, it's still your Bis, but you are a class that benefits much more from haste than you do from crit, especially early game. So if you don't get the, most of the time when I go into Ulduar, I don't have this ring. I have Utgard Keep heroic ring, and it's just, it's a ring slot. You know what I mean? It is an upgrade. It is your Bis, but it's, you know, if you go into Ulduar with your heroic ring, not a big deal. Okay, so next item is going to be your Malygos Belt, Leash of Heedless Magic. Again, I expect you to be split running this. And the thing about this belt is that it's not, the spirit on it makes it a little bit less wanted compared to if it was just straight spell power, haste, crit. It is your Bis again, just because it is a higher item level than anything else. It's better than Cincture of Polarity, and you will use it in Ulduar as you gear up. But I would not put this high on your priority list, especially because the ulduar has crafted belt, which it's gonna be expensive as shit. Don't get me wrong, but it's a really the ulduar belt's really good too, and it's gonna be available to anybody. Because I would say after week 1, just about every single pattern is going to be available, and then you just tip them a lot of money or whatever. So I wouldn't put this high up on your list either. Okay, next item is going to be your Matriarch Spawn. So this is your offhand. This is Spirit, Haste, Spell Power. It's good, don't get me wrong, but it's not the end of the world if you don't have this offhand. You have your heroism badge offhand that also has basically the same stats, just lower. And then in ulduar, a very easy boss drops a better one. Both this and the Iron Mender, which is the one that's the item I was referring to. Both of these items are contested, but it's not algalon loot. And it's also an offhand, so it's like, it's not a shield that paladins would be taking from you, or an Ellie shaman or something like that. You're really just competing with other casters at that point. So I put it pretty low. It's not going to improve your damage that much either. So yeah, next item is going to be your tier 7 helmet. The reason I started putting this tier very low is because you only need the 4-piece. It's not that big of a deal if you only have Heroes, Plague Heart, Helmet. And in 10-man, I mean, dude, just figure out some kind of way to just make sure that you get the helmet somehow first. And just alleviate that pain of not having your 4-piece. Because you are going to want 4-piece, but you're not going to want to waste your prio. Like, I would hate to wait like 3 weeks on my Dying Curse because I had to take a fucking tier 7.5 helmet instead of just getting the 10-man one. So yeah, I put it super low. I would say just try and get into a good 10-man group where you're not rolling against, half the fucking country just to get yourself your 4-piece. But it is well statted. It's a really good helmet. It is your BIS, and yeah, just make sure that you get it. Okay, next item is going to be your tier 7.5 chest. So tier 7 chest is actually lower than your helmet, because not only does helmet drop from KT only, but tier 7, not tier so your tier 7 chest, not the tier 7.5 one, you can get from hero badges. So just do your heroics and you'll eventually get that component of the you'll get that component of getting your 4-piece. So it's super low prio. A lot of people are not going to, even if you don't farm it from heroics, even if you don't farm the tier 7 chest from heroics, it might drop in 10-man, and then you just save yourself 80 badges. So yeah, super low prio. Same for the gloves, the tier 7.5 gloves. Those drop out of OS. Same scenario where you can get it from hero badges. The only reason it's a little lower than the chest is because the gloves, you're going to be split running that raid. And I think it can even drop like multiple of the tier. So it's even lower prio. Again, getting your 4-piece super fucking important, but not worth using your loot prio spot. And the last item is going to be your tier 7, or not the last item, but next to last item is going to be your tier 7.5 shoulders. These are very well statted, but you're eventually going to get them. And the shoulders that you were using beforehand are also very good. You were either using the Sunwell shoulders or you were using 10-man Nax shoulders. So not super high prio. Your Valor badges are actually not going to be used that much. You're only going to get the shoulders, and then you're going to get the ring, and then you're done. Then you can just start selling bracers and making money that way. So yeah, I would rush the shoulders, but I wouldn't freak out and waste a loot prio spot. And last item is going to be your Arcanic Tramplers. So let me show you the shoulders real quick. Let me just go through everything real quick. just right at the end. Perfectly edited. Perfectly. You're going to want a spell power gem in those. Perfectly edited. Perfectly recorded. Anyway, so let's talk about the boots. So these boots are BOE. Again, same scenario with your leash. There are ulduar crafted boots, and they are BIS. They're not BIS, but they're BIS until ulduar hard modes come out. And the crafted boots are better than these, but these are solid boots. And as I note here, as an Affliction Warlock, don't be lazy, man. You can farm 1,000 gold an hour very easily. I don't care what server you're on. These things they're gonna be layered into infinity, and people, you know, they come into Wrath with 100k gold. They're not gonna be farming. So just go farm some stuff after raid. You know, you don't have to do it all in one day. Just go farm 500 gold on a Thursday, and then, you know, 1,500 on a Friday or whatever when you got extra time. Just don't waste your loot spot or your loot slot on fucking BOEs. Don't do that to yourself. And then the last item is just going to be your Valor Ring, which is just 25 Valor. There's no loot prior to that. But yeah, that's everything for Phase 1 BIS. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. But this was mainly just I think it will apply to a lot of people, and I think it'll save you a lot of headache and a lot of pain. Like if you go into ulduar, like I said, if you go into ulduar and you don't have Turning Tide, or if you don't have Dying Curse, or even the Maly Neck, man, or the fucking pants, if you don't have these 4 items, you are fucked. Like you are in a very bad spot, because most of your gear or most of your damage is going to be coming around gearing around these items and getting enough spell hit, and most of this other stuff's kind of just fluff. But these 4 items are very, very important. But yeah, hope that helps. Thanks for watching, and feel free to sub, whatever the fuck other YouTubers say at the end of their video.